I've been on YouTube for a long time, and if I have to hear the words, "Hey guys, welcome back to my channel," or "Don't forget to hit that like button, smack that like button," or "kick it, punch it, throw it to the ground, beat it to death," and also subscribe, I might just go nuts. So I built an AI automation that takes a YouTube transcript and returns it to me neatly formatted with channel and video metadata in a GPT, and oh, by the way, also drops that file directly into my Obsidian vault. Let me show you how I did it. Hey there, it is I versus AI. This is n8n, and this is an automation which takes a video link, drops it into a GPT, well, you'll need to do that part, and sends it to an incoming URL webhook, grabs the video metadata, combines that metadata with a neat trick, which I'll show you momentarily, turns a transcript, creates it here, turns this transcript into a neatly formatted one with more metadata information pulled from here. It formats the duration and then formats the content to be sent back to the GPT. And then it proceeds on to add front matter properties, adding links to a document, creating that document with the front matter and links and the transcript and other information added, creates a markdown file, and then sends that file to Dropbox. So I think the best way to show you how this works is to do it with a video. This is a good video to start with. This is one of my own, Mastering GPT-4. These are 10 prompt tricks, several of which I used in this automation. All you need to do, and this works both on mobile and on desktop, is to copy the link. You can do so by right-clicking and copying the link here, or you can click Share and grab this link. No matter how the link is formatted, the GPT will turn it into a standard youtube.com link and send it on to the automation. I've created a GPT here called YouTube Notes, and I'm just going to drop the link in here and send it on its way. If you'd like to see the link that the GPT has sent to the automation, you can simply hit this down arrow here. Over here in executions, we can see all of the executions, including this one here that is running right now and moving the data through the automation. And here is the transcript with a link to the channel, a link to the video. This is the duration here of the video, and the timestamps, which take you directly to that part of the video. And it breaks everything down easily here. The automation will also remove all calls to action, like the aforementioned like and subscribe, or any kind of sponsorship, anything that is not the meat and potatoes of the video. It will remove and give you just what's left. This is that workflow that just ran. And here is the Obsidian note added right to my Obsidian vault with correct properties, including the time, tags, aliases, a description, the source, and the channel. An image of the video here, the link in the description and the duration, as you've already seen. And as we scroll down here to the bottom, you'll also get links here. Any of these links that you can add, these are internal links in Obsidian. If you don't want these, you just remove the whole thing, or just remove certain links that you don't want. When I am done looking at the note and I decide to keep it in my vault, I just move it using Auto Note Mover, which is an Obsidian plugin. And if this one were, say, about YouTube, I would just select the YouTube tag. I use underscores to indicate tags that are meant to move the notes to the specific folder. And up in the top corner, you can't quite see all of that up there, but it says moved the note, and it sits here in the YouTube folder right here in my codex folder, which is my folder where I put things that I have learned or am learning about. And it's moved out of the transcript folder, and that's how I process it. I'm going to show you a little bit more about how I created this so that you can do the same thing yourself. But if you're thinking that you would really rather not sit here and recreate this entire automation, that's all right. I've got you covered. You can actually purchase this automation from Gumroad. There will be a link in the description and in the pinned comment. It comes with a quick start guide, which shows you everything that you need to get it set up, along with images to help you along your way. I like to always include notes on every node so you can learn as you go. It shows you exactly what every single node does and how the data flows through the automation. It also includes the prompt for the GPT that you will need to create. And most importantly, it includes the schema that you will need to fill in here when you create a new action. Actions are what allow your GPTs to become, well, magical and connect to the outside world. The schema tells the GPT exactly how and where to make the call in order to send the YouTube link and initiate the automation. When you get this product, you will be able to see over here a quick start guide, which will get you going right away. But essentially, you're going to need to drop your API key here from Apify. Apify is a fantastic site which allows you to get access to a bunch of APIs that you can then connect your GPT to and do things like scrape websites or get posts or extract data or check your Gmail or have your Gmail messages sent to you, all kinds of things. That's one of the ways that I am able to build out these automations, is using APIs. This fantastic API brings back information about the title, thumbnail, description, duration, etc., which I then use next in this code node. N8n's code node is that, and the HTTP node are the two nodes that are most powerful, at least so far in my discovery and learning with the n8n platform, because this allows me to use JavaScript or Python and ask ChatGPT to write out the code that gets me what it is I need. In this case, I needed the transcript, which comes in like this with these start ends, to end up looking like this. I'm going to show you this in table form. This is complete gobbledygook, but here is a little trick. In order to get the best output from the model in the next step, I needed to shorten the transcript. And it was tough trying to figure out a way to do that. Every few words, there was a timestamp here. The first thing I did was I decreased the amount of timestamps, saving only every fifth timestamp. But that still didn't get me a short enough transcript. The more that I could shorten the transcript without losing its context, the more room the model had to output enough tokens to give a reasonably detailed, formatted breakdown of that video. And so after thinking of numerous different ways and looking at maybe doing it with Python, I thought of an idea. And I asked ChatGPT if it could remove every single vowel. Because I know, and I've said this numerous times on this channel, large language models can understand perfectly well very unstructured, very messy text. They're very good at it. And I use that to my advantage. I had it remove every vowel, and I found that it did work, but it was better when I asked it to remove every other vowel. This, that you've probably been trying to read while I've been talking, is very difficult for humans to read, but the AI can understand it perfectly. So there's a little trick if you need to shorten up your prompt that you're sending to the large language model. Because here I get a nicely formatted output. This is another prompt chain that I ran in order to get this to completely work. It has numerous steps, which of course, if you grab this for yourself, you can look completely through these prompts and see how I did everything. This one I was able to keep just with GPT-4o Mini. So in order to run this, it costs pennies. Now, there is a note. This does work for more than YouTube. Oh, I did forget to mention that. It does work for YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Vimeo, and Dailymotion. You can even try it on sites where, as long as you don't need to log into the site like Facebook or Instagram, and the video is there available to watch without login, and it has an attached transcript, subtitles, it should work. Give it a try and let me know in the comments if it does. But I know for certain, because I've tested it, that it does work for those 5 sites. So if you see some awesome video on Twitter, you can now get the transcript from it and toss it into your Obsidian Vault, or just get it through your GPT. The next step was to simply change the duration that came in, which came in as seconds, and format it to minutes and seconds. This is another one of my favorite nodes. It's a set fields nodes. It basically means that I can format something to look a certain way. So in this case, this is what comes back to you here when your GPT returns the content, which is then done in this return webhook, which would send the data formatted from the previous step directly back to the GPT. Now we get to the part where I wanted something. I didn't just want to have the transcript. There are many places where you can get the YouTube transcript. And I didn't just want it in a GPT because that's really nice, but what do I do with it afterwards? I read it and then that's it. I wanted to be able to access that information later on, like this, having it in my vault where it is tagged, it is linked, it is searchable, and most importantly, that information could be accessed in my vault right here using GPT-o Mini or any other large language model that I've connected using this Copilot plugin. There are 2 ways that I bring large language models into my Obsidian Vault. This Copilot plugin, which is fantastic. And second is Text Generator, which allows me to create properties, links, generate text, work with text, solve problems, basically work similarly to the way I work with GPT-4 in ChatGPT or in the API, but here right in my vault. Here is the front matter all ready to go and the links. Next, it formats the note for Obsidian's vault here. And one of the things that I love so much about working with large language models is that they are very well versed and understand very well Markdown. So I frequently nowadays do my prompt crafting right here in my Obsidian Vault. This is the prompt chain that I used in order to get the transcript that is sent to you. If, by the way, you would like me to give you a tour of my Obsidian Vault and even give you a tutorial on how I set it up, because it is really my second brain and it runs a lot of my personal life. It helps me so much with my YouTube channel, and nowadays I use it so much for prompt crafting. It's such a great way. I work with the prompt here in Obsidian and then I just copy and paste it, especially since a lot of my prompts need to be formatted in a very specific way in order to get the best output from the model. All of that I do in my Obsidian Vault now. By the way, I don't know if you have heard of Obsidian before, but it is amazing and it is free. I love Obsidian. It also works on so many different platforms. So basically whatever platform you're using, from Linux to Mac to Raspberry Pi and all the way around, again, it is available on that platform, and mobile as well too. And they're always improving it. They just came out with an Obsidian clipper that just basically clips web pages right into your notes. So fantastic. A wonderful, wonderful app. I am highly devoted to Obsidian. From there, the automation creates a Markdown file and then sends that file to Dropbox. Let me show you how I got the data from Dropbox into my Obsidian Vault. In order to have my documents show up directly in the Obsidian Vault the moment that they are downloaded into Dropbox is using a link shell extension. You can actually do this without this little app, which is free, by using a Symlink. And that is spelled SYM, like symbol, link. ChatGPT can create that link for you, but I like the link shell extension for Windows, and I have an option for Mac for those of you guys wanting that, because it's really simple and it allows me to just right-click on a folder. Like, for example, here, the transcripts folder. I can right-click on it, click Pick Link Source, and then right-click here and drop as symbolic link, junction, smart copy, smart mirror, etc. And you can read more about what each of these do in the documentation over here on the left-hand side. I don't know of an app like this for Mac, but this How to Geek article shows you how to create symbolic links. Symbolic links basically mean that you can link a folder somewhere else and whatever happens in that folder happens simultaneously at the same time in the symbolic link. The downside of this is that it is not an actual folder. So let's say you're on mobile and you save a URL over to your GPT, it brings back the transcript, and then you want to go hop into your Obsidian Vault on mobile, your Obsidian app, and see the file there. Unfortunately, it will not show up because it isn't actually really there. The folder doesn't really exist in your Obsidian Vault. There's just a ghost-like imitation of a folder here. That's why when I open my Obsidian Vault and do any processing of transcripts that I have saved, I simply move them into a real folder, and now they exist. If you want to see the file immediately while on mobile, simply download the Dropbox app. The file that is created is a markdown file. That's a text file. It's available to look at in any text editor, Word, Notepad. This is Notepad++. And it's just text formatted in a very specific way. If you're sitting there and thinking, this would be amazing if she would simply send it to Notion. Well, I tried. There is a Notion node here in n8n. I tried creating a page, and it is possible to do, except that the text block where you would put the transcript is limited to, I think, 2,000 or so characters. So that meant that you'd have to basically use code to split the transcript up into 2,000 character blocks, which would be very simple to do, and ask ChatGPT to do that for you. Simply drop that code in, say right here, for example, in the workflow, you could insert a code block which would break up the text into 2,000 count characters, and I would just ask ChatGPT for that JavaScript code, explain what you're trying to do. And then you can piece those blocks into different blocks in Notion. But it was much more complicated than I felt was something I could deal with in this particular automation. But I wanted to let you know that it is possible for those of you who want to buy this and tinker around with adding this to Notion instead. I love sharing the prompt crafting tricks that I learn along the way. And the one I learned in this automation, and if you are, for example, looking at this and going, I can't do this, I could never do this automation, I just want to let you know that of all time, this is my 5th automation. 5th. I did one on make.com to connect up an Etsy site, which still runs. I should make that one available too. It works great. And then I did one on Active Pieces, which is another open source. You can locally host it like you can with n8n, and I do recommend doing that. I put the instructions in the quick start guide, but for $5 a month. But it was not, I didn't like the user interface. And until I found and fell in love with n8n, which I first got connected to in order to build out this podcast, which is fast daily book breakdowns for book lovers, New York Times bestsellers and classics and just all kinds of books. And I love Lit Snippets so much. But Lit Snippets is completely automated. I should not say completely. It's almost completely automated through n8n. And I want to stress that that's how amazing n8n is with very little experience and having just 2 automations under my belt, with the help of ChatGPT, Claude helped at one point, and Google Gemini, which helps with working with all the nodes at once, because essentially, and I want to just really show you this, how important this is, nodes are nothing more than JavaScript. You can just take them, I'm going to select them all, and then you can just cut them or copy them like this. Now they're in my clipboard. I can then take the entire workflow and just give it to something that takes a large token amount, like Google Gemini, which takes up to 2 million, and ask it about it. Even ChatGPT on one this small can work with that. So that's why n8n is so amazing, is because you can actually just take the nodes and put it into a large language model and say, help me figure out these nodes. And since large language models are very well versed in JavaScript, which is what this is, it's just a user interface for JavaScript moving data through. That's all it is. You can ask for help and learn like I did and am doing. So speaking of learning, in this transcript breakdown here, the last field, which is the user field here, it sends the whole of the task. I had a problem because you can get videos from TikTok and Twitter, and those work great, except they don't have timestamps. Like there's no way like in YouTube you can put a number behind it, which will take you directly to that spot. Just like this will take me right to 217 on the nose, which is 217 here. But that does not exist for TikTok, and it doesn't exist for Twitter. So how to get around that? It was outputting just timestamps that didn't take you anywhere. I wanted it for Twitter and for TikTok to remove the timestamps. This is the trick. Down here, I call this the rule of 3s. Down here, you're going to see 3 times where I asked it to remove the timestamps. And you might be like, man, this lady was really tired and frustrated and just started yelling at the model. Well, yes, there are times in which that is exactly what's happening. Believe me. But when you've been prompt crafting for hours and hours and hours and you can't get it to do this one into what is to your human mind a simple thing, you start yelling, trust me. But this actually has a method to the madness. I could not get it to do this. I was using remove timestamps. I placed it numerous times throughout the text, the prompt here, but it just wasn't working. So out of frustration, I just decided what would happen if I just put it in here 10 times, the same line 10 times. And sure enough, it worked. And I thought to myself, ding, wait a minute. What if there's some reason behind this? Think about it. If we're really frustrated and we ask, let's say, one of our children to come here, you don't say, come here, come here. You say, come here, come here, come here. You say it 3 times. Jokes, for example. Every comedian knows that a joke is one thing, then the next thing, and then the third out of place thing that creates the humor. It's baked into the way we communicate with each other. So I thought to myself, well, let me just try it. So I put it in once, no go. Put it in twice, no go. Put it in 3rd times, no timestamps. It worked. So if you are struggling to get GPT-4 to do something you need it to do, and it's a very simple thing, try repeating it, not only in all caps, not only using the markdown symbols for bold here, an exclamation point. Markdown symbols do influence the output of the model. The model understands that this is bold. It understands that all caps mean to a human serious business, yelling, playing, not playing around, pay attention to this. It knows that. But I did not know that it also understands the rule of 3. So give that a try and let me know how it works. Again, if you'd like to get your hot little paws on this automation, it is available on Gumroad right now. And if you're wondering, again, how did I send this information here to this incoming URL? How does that work? That works through a webhook. And it is the secret from turning GPTs into meh to GPTs that are, what did you just do with that GPT? That level of wow. It's webhooks. And I cover how schemas, webhooks, and how to connect GPTs to the outside world all work in this video on screen right now.